Have you ever been informed that life after survival would feel more like 80 than a few individuals actually say it aloud? However, the reality is that growing older doesn't always encase in serenity, knowledge, and mild funerals that it may accompany. Leg weakness that worries you, I never imagined you'd carry it, yet you succeeded. You have persevered throughout your life thus far. Constructed. However, after you reach your 80s, the globe starts to shift in ways that are difficult to describe unless you're alive. You may appear identical in the mirror over some years, yet your power, and they start to remember your independence. Wear thin materials, such as old cloth, and what? No one alerts you to things they never included in retirement brochures or books, such as how you may be tested at this point in your life, in novel ways. Not only in terms of physical, emotionally. And this film is not about fear on a spiritual level. It's about being conscious of naming what many elderly people experience, but they hardly ever express it, about assisting you in psychologically preparing, and for some of the invisible, practically difficulties that arise when you cross or go over 7 when you enter your 80s. Harsh yet truthful realities of aging after 80 things you should be aware of in order to confront them with courage, decency, and decision, since being ready doesn't create a negative outlook in you. Strong. Let's start with reality. 1. The vanishing group of individuals by the your phone doesn't work once you're 80. Ring as frequently. Not because individuals don't care, but since many of them don't long enough to be considered one of the most unpleasant facts of aging are the silent death of your buddies in your circle. Dying neighbors relocating to even relatives gets involved in assisted living less accessible. Since they are handling their own, it's not simply about dying in hectic life. It's about the kind of absence that seeps in. Gradually, the shared lunch you used to have every Tuesday with a friend is no longer. You don't hear the same voice you once heard following church on Sundays, and nobody can replace the worst part. There are fewer persons your age, and younger people aren't quite as the same area in your heart is getting smaller. Circle has an impact on more than just your schedule. Loneliness affects your spirit, but being alone yourself is the same as being invisible. It's awakening to the fact that fewer people are aware of your tale. Recall that when you were at your best, fewer people inquired about your well-being, and when you were losing relationships that give you a feeling of self, you could slip as well, and you began to question whether, if someone noticed, you would still be important. If you spent the entire day in bed, that's why. It is crucial to confront this first reality. After 80, your social circle will shift, occasionally quicker than you anticipate, but this is the counterbalance that you possess. Ability to sow new seeds even today. Some seniors begin volunteering, so they don't feel helpful, but for others to feel connected. Delight in brief yet regular encounters, for example, conversing with the same cashier at the neighborhood shop, or signing up for a library. The goal of the senior book club is not to reconstruct what's lost in order to ensure you're not wandering silently by yourself. If you felt that even if you're past 80, emptiness and the pain of being less familiar voices that you can't imagine, it's one of the most difficult aging adjustments. However, identify it and aiming for even a new relationship may save your life, because even though your story may be slipping into the past, is still taking place, and someone still needs to hear the truth as well. The subtle revolt of your body after the age of 80, the body does more than simply age. It negotiates one day. Your knees function perfectly. The next step hurts them. It's not the sharp deterioration that most people experience as they age. The silent rebellion is the rigidity that did not exist the previous week. The hunger that goes away without advising against taking a snooze that feels more like a need rather than a preference for many. Anticipate a progressive decline in their strength. However, they are taken aback by how, when things become inconsistent, you get after 3 nights of rest, suddenly you're up at 3 a.m, gazing at your stomach or the ceiling, which was consistently trustworthy, starts having a negative reaction to food you consumed. It's like your body throughout your entire life continuously modifies the regulations without warning. This uncertainty may cause you to feel deceived by your own body. After decades of living there, you begin to wonder, is this a temporary situation or the new normal? Problem, should I wait for it or see a doctor? It drags you down to not knowing. Not only about suffering, but also the emotional consequences of feeling unstable in your own skin. but the majority of others around you, younger ones in particular, don't see it. Although you may appear fine on the outside, you're walking and continuing to complete your tasks. They continue to joke around, but fail to notice the amount of energy required simply to stay up to date. They fail to notice the internal beat. Changes you're making to your strategy for the way you run errands on your free time to prevent heartburn. You skip meals. How you take a seat, not because of exhaustion, but standing makes you the hardest thing is when your legs quiver. This minor disintegration continues, and there isn't necessarily a pattern to it. It gives you a sense of youth again. You aspire to feel older the following day, greater than your age, and that hope disappears. Not a sign of weakness, but rather the body exerting more effort to stay the same, keeping you who you are, but now you need to pay closer attention and move more. Rest gently more frequently, but here's anything that makes routines even easier. Initially, the simple ones drank warm water, stretching lightly first thing in the morning, getting some sunlight outside before sleeping. Even for just 10 minutes, these little your body is reminded by your behaviors that you're remaining on the side you're not providing for. You're getting used to it, and that's the silence. Age-related strength rather than resistance shift, but in figuring out how to adapt to it if this video is still playing for you. And considering these observations to be beneficial, please let me know in the second remark below. I'm aware that you're here and have not subscribed, but I advise you to do so, and press the bell to ensure you don't miss it. Your assistance with any videos is helpful to us. Keep producing informative, high-quality articles. And motivate you. Now, let's go. The diminishing circle of people in reality. One of the most difficult realities to face after 80 is your circle becomes narrower. Sometimes it occurs gradually, and other times buddies you used call all at one stop responding to your neighbors once a week. Moved away or passed while having coffee together. Away. Even members of your own family, who I suddenly needed you for everything, appear preoccupied with their own life. Yet it's not. People constantly intend to pull away. Life simply transforms your kids into the time spent by grandparents themselves consumed with work, grandchildren, and health. Their tension, as long as they remain in love, the frequency of phone calls decreases. The more hurried visits gave the impression that, belonging less strongly at first, you may remind yourself that it's only temporary. It's just hectic this month, but the weeks go by. Birthdays pass into months with just a short text on holidays make you feel calmer. Discover that you're replaying additional memories. Old talks preserving memories, since it's more difficult to find fresh ones. Additionally, there is the social change that occurs. As you get older, you might not drive as much. Perhaps it's more difficult to hear at night now. In noisy areas, perhaps rising, and it takes 3 to get ready for a gathering. More energy than it once did. So even when there are chances to bond, you're hesitant to leave. But you consider the price, and frequently the cost seems excessive, which leads to a hazardous loop. The fewer connections you make, you start to feel more invisible, and it's easier if you feel invisible. It's not okay for people to ignore you. Purposeful, but it's genuine, and it's a woman named Sandra, 84, said that it was terrible, that her day's most lonely moment wasn't feeling alone. Rather, it was understanding that nobody was anticipating her call, awaiting her arrival, and when she missed a community function in her area. Nobody even noticed the center. But here's the crucial thing, that shrinking circles don't mean vanishing lives. You don't require a throng to have a sense of belonging. 1 or 2 meaningful connections with someone you can laugh with, or simply sit quietly with can occasionally be sufficient, which means reaching out despite the awkwardness, composing a letter rather than holding out for a call, acknowledging receipt of a neighbor's invitation, even though you would prefer to stay. Giving your presence at home is also beneficial. When necessary, tutor a younger person. If you can, volunteer and give your tales that seem like nobody's listening, but your life and someone else's experience may serve as the necessary grounding. Being older does not equate to becoming unimportant, but maintaining visibility does need effort. And it starts with keeping in mind that even if your circle is smaller, the value of reality has not decreased at all. There's a weight of outliving others. Mild form of discomfort that accompanies outliving those you care about. And after 80, this turns into more than a potentiality. It turns into a pattern. You don't just bid farewell to one individual. Say goodbye to your buddies repeatedly. who had siblings who were familiar with your early years, shared your parents with your own children. Spouse you believe you would develop. It's not only a loss to be old with forever, it's the burden of bearing all those with just your memories. You discover the final one. Recalling a humorous incident from 1963, the only person who remains aware of the explanation for the garage door dent. Nobody remains to say, remember, when, and get them to nod in agreement. This type of loneliness, knowing smile, is distinct. It's not only about not having anyone to speak with, it's about understanding that nobody else has the same memory of your life. You do that, and your past is unique to you, that your character's ensemble, the plot has gotten thinner, and you're left on stage with fewer people you recognize in the audience. You may also experience a sense of not the kind of guilt associated with wrongdoing, but you begin to question about survivor's guilt. Why do you remain here when others have left? You review choices and consider missed opportunities. You carry questions on calls that you can't respond to, and that sorrow doesn't go away, just alters the shape of one individual. Robert Corden at 87. Aging's most difficult aspect wasn't either his sore knees or his hazy vision, which occurred in the mornings when he grabbed the habit of using a second coffee mug, or the way his wife's voice occasionally reached him, in his mind, responding to a query I've never asked out loud, but something we don't discuss enough about the ability to be strong in remembering. It takes bravery to awaken to a quieter home while continuing to opt for there is beauty in sharing the story outside of bed, tales of deceased that are consistent with keeping their memory alive with your own voice if this is still being watched. Watching the video and discovering these insights important. Kindly respond to the fourth comment below to inform me of your presence. And if you haven't already, I suggest you activate the bell and subscribe so you never miss a support video. Helps us keep producing high-quality content. To educate and motivate you, now let's proceed. The fifth forward truth is a reduction in personal autonomy after the age of 80. Odd things begin to occur, even if you're still capable, acute, and people who are independent start to treat you that you're gradually losing your freedom. Lou begins to get smaller, starting with minor issues that your kids may insist on taking you all over, even when you understand that you're doing quite great behind the wheel, or they begin to wonder what you eat, sleep, and how you handle your it isn't that they don't love you, drugs. Their concern causes them to go too far, and you're no longer the one. The last decision you're being suggested to be softly pushed or directed towards is when you start to get frustrated. You realize your own boundaries that you've merited, decide what is important, but the world around you deciding for you as though you're elderly. A lifetime of judgment is nullified by age and restraint. You might even feel invisible in discussions, as though your preferences aren't as important as they used to. Joyce, 84, a woman who shared how her daughter began to organize every aspect of her day, including her daily strolls that originated from the shows she watched. Affection, yet it gave her a childlike feeling. Joyce claimed that she resembled her. The gradual erasure of independence was not since she was unable to function, but because they believed she couldn't. Considered among the silent conflicts of aging, the battle to maintain your agency in a world with good intentions that doesn't always listen. Being stubborn isn't the point. It's about maintaining one's dignity. Mention that you were asked but not told, but this is the crucial setup section. Setting limits now isn't selfish. You must be able to say, thank you for your assistance, but let me take care of things. You can communicate when something isn't sitting correctly. Those who care about you may be initially taken aback, but eventually they will recognize and honor it because the reality is the more you defend your autonomy, the more time you spend in contact with the world in a manner that decisions are important, who to see, what to eat, and how to spend your time, is more than just a personal preference. It's a manifestation of who you are, and know regardless of your age, your identity deserves a space. Reality 6 emotion, the price of outliving others, is among the most difficult things that happen after age 80. It's not that you're experiencing bodily agony and emotional grief. Begin to observe that the individuals who once occupied your days, your calls, and your holidays start to fade. Old pals pass, siblings deteriorate, occasionally even a spouse, and what remains isn't simply sadness, it's peculiar silence that's sadness at this point, settling into your habits. It is not always the case that aging comes in waves. You get used to it when you wake up in silence. Awaken and discover that no one is available to call regarding a recollection from 40 years ago. Nobody who actually recalls you from your 20s. Nobody who is aware of the inside jokes, the manner in which you once laughed that loneliness isn't loud. It's just constantly present in the background, as in for many. The sound of an old radio humming softly causes one to feel unanchored. Like, though you're afloat in a universe that continues to move forward, while fragments of your past discreetly disappears. And nobody teaches you to grieve the fact that no one gets you ready for how powerful it takes simply to continue to arrive happy, eating and interacting while carrying everything in visible weight. I recall a man by the name of Charles, 87, stated, "I've visited more funerals than I can count in the previous 5 years, and each time a small portion of his presence in my life is a sensation." Many people carry things without speaking, not because they aren't affected by it, but because life has adapted to it, however. This is what keeps a lot of individuals grounded. The choice to continue revealing to strangers despite the possibility of greater farewells. To continue looking for reasons to rejoice and welcome someone and laugh. Even if they're 30 years old, over for coffee younger. As maintaining a connection isn't simply a method to kill time. It's a technique to maintain your internal life. Therefore, if you're experiencing this at the moment, don't pretend. You're ashamed of your grief. It's light. But be aware because there's still room for happiness, even if it enters. Grief can be expressed through new forms and faces. Walk alongside you rather than in front of you. If you're still watching, you continue. Watching this film and discovering these revelations important. Kindly leave a comment at number 6 below to inform me of your presence and whether you have subscribed yet. I suggest you if you haven't. Turn on the bell and subscribe so you don't overlook any footage. Your assistance is invaluable. Keep us producing quality information to educate and motivate you. Then let's go. Progressive Truth 7. Confronting your own elegance and frailty after 80 years of age. One of the most humble things you'll encounter terms with your own vulnerability, not only in your muscles or bones, but also in commonplace items you once took for granted. Obviously, lacing your shoes and leaving a low chair supporting a cup it's not that you always feel elderly. That every slightest misstep pain serves as a reminder that the body has restrictions that were previously absent and that inside if you allow it to tremble, your confidence may cause you to second-guess yourself. I suppose taking walks by myself while traveling, even when preparing a meal, you start planning your day not according to your desires, but only to do what is safe for you, and that change, while being realistic, can begin to make your world seem to be getting smaller. Yet this is important. Fragility is not weakness. Your body is a living example of knowledge and action. You should listen more intently. More precisely, it serves as a reminder of your life. You've shown strength for a long time, and the ability to adapt is now the strength. I once met a woman named Grace with Grace. Nancy, 84, said something that I will never forget. Forget that I don't mind using a cane. It serves as a reminder that I earned it now. I've traveled a long and significant path, and I continue to think that way, which is everything because, although some individuals attempt to conceal their shortcomings or act as though others take strength in the fact that they are still 60, they adjust by using the tools they request. Assist them in taking their time in doing so in order to maintain their independence. More time than those who reject the reality of their physical changes. So learn to work instead of fighting your frailty. After 80, its strength isn't about overcoming discomfort or demonstrating your ability to take care of everything by yourself. Deciding what is most important to preserve your enthusiasm and persistence in showing up what is important is being present, thankful, and wise. What matters most is how you conduct yourself. It all with dignity, bravery, and a calm strength that only people who have lived long enough to comprehend last reflections about becoming elderly after 80 are more than simply handling the physical. It involves confronting some of the harshest realities while keeping your head held high, and you don't have to keep your heart open. Act as though everything is simple, but understanding these has profound power. Truths, and decide and confront them with knowing that you are not a burden or a source of fear. Don't forget that you're still here. Your presence, your tales, and your laughter, your obstinate nature is more important. More than ever. So look after your mental health. Don't suppress your feelings. Instead, embrace the loneliness, but resist it and stay inquisitive, upfront, and truthful regarding money. Yet never stop being generous. Kindness, as well as when your body relaxes in any case. Walk with pride, and thank you for joining us today would be greatly appreciated. You share one and leave a remark underneath. Anything you discovered today and your planning strategy to apply it to your life. Your ideas are vital to us, so please don't hesitate to share them after reading your remarks. Us a lot of inspiration and support if you found and liked this video useful. Kindly like, subscribe, and share. Your assistance enables us to keep producing excellent material to educate and motivate you. We appreciate you viewing, and we look forward to, I hope, seeing you in the upcoming video.